Hey everyone! In today's video, I got the first mini review of the Intellivision Amico. A German magazine, I think it's called the M magazine, posted a little article, maybe a mini review of the system. And what I did is I scanned this JPEG and used like an online translator to get it into English. So bear with me because I'm sure a lot of the translation was messed up because the image quality is really low, but you do get the gist of it. So here we go. Starts off saying that the video game manufacturer Mattel, I think they mean Intellivision, has introduced its own game to the competitive video game market, which has made quite a dent, especially in the USA. So it's trying to say that the market's quite big in the States. The next part talks about how the television, the brand Intellivision, had fallen victim to the video game crash many years ago, and that video game composer Tommy Tallarico reintroduced it to to retro game collectors in 2018. Unlike the others who are creating mini consoles with the oldies, the Amico is intended to close the gap in the market left by Nintendo Wii by creating a console with family gaming in mind. After several postponements, we were able to see the console for ourselves. Well, this should be good, so they actually see it on hand. And the console is expected to be released in the first quarter of 2022. We'll see if that happens, because it's pretty much the end of December, and they haven't said anything. And the competitors like Evercade showed their finished products waiting to be shipped months before it actually was shipped. And so the odds of it coming out first quarter, very, very low. It says the hardware price was even set lower at initial announcement, but due to the international production bottlenecks, means the Amico now is compared to the Switch hybrid console, which was released earlier. The Intellivision tells us that they don't see themselves in direct competition and consider Amico to be a mid-range, high-end toy product. We don't completely agree with this assessment, but in our eyes, the device could be interesting for gamers for whom current large-scale productions have become too complex and time-consuming. I assume the translation is trying to say that for casual gamers. But I found that quite funny that they think it's a high-end toy product. It does look like a toy, I'll give it that. Is it high-end, though, with the components that are inside it? It's questionable. I think the Leapfrog products might even have more processing power. Following that, it says, similar to the most popular Wii games, the games for the Amico should be not complicated and easy to understand for everyone. Therefore, only 2D titles will be developed. The simplicity generally shows in the input device. It retains the original rotating disc with 4 action buttons. Well, it's kind of, from what I understand, only the 2 buttons can work at one time. So if you're holding it with the disc on the left-hand side, the top 2 buttons are the only ones that function. It's never been clarified if you can have 4 separate buttons or if just the 2 on the top do the same as the 2 at the bottom. It's part of the messaging that makes it very unclear. It then goes on saying that how the controller offers the touchscreen instead of the normal buttons. It has a built-in microphone and speakers, which will be useful for party games. The starting lineup of games consists of some reinterpretations of old classics like Dyna Blaster and Moon Patrol, as well as ports of mobile titles such as the Trials like Evil Knievel, which was extended by a multiplayer mode, with Finnegan Fox, originally Fox and Force, which is a single-player jump and run, which got a familiar comic look instead of pixel art. So it talks about how they redid the artwork. You can already buy these titles in a limited edition with the physical packages of what they're talking about, where you get the lenticular card, an RFID card. See the photos below, and where you download. It says they're €18 each, and you download the games later with a scannable code. After our several hours of hands-on, we currently still have doubts about the console, if it can proliferate itself as the Wii's successor. This is the part I think that was already leaked to the internet. The sometimes jerky performance of the games and the complex menu navigation can still be worked on until the release, but the slightly spongy controller via the turntable cause us problems again and again. So they're just talking about how the menu system is kind of off. They don't like the turntable. Saying it's spongy. I thought, from what I heard from the several people who played it, it was the greatest thing. But They said the motion controls degenerated into wild fidgeting. Like how they said that. So basically, just like the original Wii remote, a lot of waggle. The touchscreen is suitable for simple inputs like confirming the character selection. However, when you have to use it to activate the turbo in hectic games like Astro Smash, it is anything but intuitive and takes a lot of time to get used to. We are also still skeptical about the advertised gameplay. So they didn't really give a big review about it. They just said it doesn't work too good. Although there are more than 80 games in development, most of them are only for versions of oldies. I like that translation. So just trying to say they're retro games that are ported. Just under 20 euros for them seems steep compared to the competition. And then the last bit, I mean, this did not translate well, but it sounds funny. It says, Earthworm Jim 4, on the other hand, promises that the Amico will not only serve as a recycling center in the long run. I'm guessing what that's trying to say is that in the long run, if Earthworm Jim comes out, that the Amico won't just be garbage. That's a weird way to put it. And that's about it for the article. It doesn't really go... I wish it had more of a hands-on. I was hoping that this article would go into more of a detail, but either way, this is just the beginning. First interpretation from someone who is not working on staff or who isn't associated with Tommy. It wasn't good. They had several hours hands-on, and they noticed lots of issues. And this is a considerable problem, considering that this was supposed to come out 2 years ago, and they're still having basic issues with the input. We'll see how this goes in the long run. So that's all I have for today's video. But as we get more of these reviews from third-party sources that aren't associated with the Amico, I'll post them and put my thoughts on it. So until then, have a good holiday season. I'll see you then.